Okay, we should be good to go. I actually forgot to crack open my drink, so I'll do that while we're starting up here. Hello, everybody. I've been looking so forward to this episode. I saw the preview images already. It's Niab slash Akra Oni, whatever it may be. I guess that really is just my new intro now. I didn't intend for it to be, and I guess it kind of is. Welcome to yet another ReZero reaction. Again, I said it before, I'm excited for today's episode. I'm only just a teensy bit late, so it's actually not even that bad this time. Um, yeah, wow. I've been looking forward to a whole lot here. On top of the fact that they even gave this episode the perfect title of it. They gave it the title of I think this might have actually been one of the chapter titles, but I do remember it was obviously a phrase that was repeated throughout this whole sequence, which is murder becomes a habit, or at least, you know, something similar to that, right? I mean, the exact wording on it, yeah, is murder is a habit. But I feel like murder becomes a habit is more accurate, of course, just because becomes versus is, wording. Um, Still, I have been stoked for this. It's been quite the week leading up to this because I have just been looking forward to what they're gonna cover here. And then I saw the backstory image in there, and I'm like, oh boy, oh boy. And then I had actually learned something that I didn't realize at first, despite watching every trailer that had come out and the intros and all that. I actually did not fully realize we are actually having a split core here. I only now learned like when we have 2 episodes left of the current core. It's also not really a long break. It's until like the 12th of August, which is cool for me because that means, oh, okay, the week right before my birthday, I get to, you know, watch an episode, right? Like I get to watch the first episode that it comes back with, and then the week after, literally like the day right after my birthday, I get to watch another. So that'll be fun. But yeah, I hadn't realized at first it was a split core. So I guess it'll be a bit after this week and next that we do these. Which in a sense is good because it does let me have more time for Arc 9. And I kind of need that now, seeing as something yesterday got announced. Uh so I'm gonna have to stream something else in 2 weeks because I've been streaming every previous part to it, except I guess except the first part. But that got announced uh yesterday, so you know. Well, regardless, we might as well get into this. I'm not gonna waste time with talking about game announcements and all that. I'll leave that for the main channel where I'll do that either during a live stream or like end of the year video. You know what I mean? Anyways, without further ado, let us do this, right? Boom. We are good. It looks fine here. All right. Again, I'm so excited. Oh, it looked so good off just the screen caps alone. Okay, let's move the mouse there and let us time this. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Perfect. Glad we get to get just right into it. Ah, I've been looking so forward to this. I do appreciate that they're now doing the quotations for the sake of like that matters here. It matters that they put quotations on it. Yeah. That whole dilemma he's having with it. And then yeah, skipped intro, I'm not surprised. Ugh. I'm so anxious right now. There's so much that happens at this point that I brought it up in a YouTube comment that this genuinely is like my favorite point of the volume. There's so much interesting shit that happens here. Just the consistent nervous look to his face, and then obviously this is the loop where he didn't say anything about his memories, so now it becomes this concern of like, you know, uh, dude, it's uh, it just makes a pit watching this because it's like, man, ugh, I can't wait for the best part of it to start. Because I mean, I saw the screenshots. I know they're gonna do it. Yep. Here it comes. Yep. There you go. Also, I like how that's actually a really cool detail. I like how the book is small because inherently she hasn't lived a very long life, right? Like Melee's like I think 12 or 13 or some shit like that, like same age as Petra. So therefore there ain't much. Oh boy. I've said it before. I love the Books of the Dead, and especially for plot lines like this, especially where it's like character we know right there. And obviously, people are going to mention spin off stories in that regard, and I think that is very fair. I think that is also an interesting thing. But, we're not going to go into detail about that. Apologies. Uh, dude, the voice acting in this scene is going to reveal so much to so many people. Assuming they cover as much as I'm hoping they cover, because that's what they cover in the original. Like in the web novel and the light novel, all that. I'm hoping the voice acting reveals it here. Yep, there we go. And now we get to see very early. Yep. This actually has one of the best colored illustrations in the light novel. Which in a sense I can appreciate. It is a really cool, like, illustration of just showing this is how she lived her life. But we're not at that point yet where the illustration comes from. That's a really good shot. Yeah, I was gonna say, similar to an abandoned baby near some wolves. It's the same thing. There it is. Yeah, that's the version of her that's in the illustration. That's literally the exact same pose. Of course, even if that's the same pose. Also, yeah, I really like this. Even if it's the same pose, yeah, there's someone missing from the colored illustration. And that's, yeah, short hair Elsa. That's what I was talking about when I said short hair last episode. Maybe not even just voice acting, they just might show it. I'm very curious if they'll show it. And of course, yeah, a character that doesn't, care about being bitten like that. Yup. 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 And there's the voice acting. Oh my god, they're barely showing her. They're just barely showing her. And you can see the outfit and everything. Oh my god, yeah. And now we get to see the torture. This is exactly what I was hoping for. Genuinely, this is exactly what and there's the, yeah, hundreds of frogs. It's so good. So, because it's obvious, I'm gonna say it right now. The thing I was slightly disappointed about, yeah, also, this is very important. Even someone like Elsa, who is completely off, right? Even someone like her has to preface, hey, don't be like her. Don't do that, right? Very clear, like, both of them don't like her. Hmm. But they're adapting this so well. Also, constantly using that sound effect, just like Arc 1. I was gonna mention with all that, uh, it, I don't even fully remember what I was gonna. Or wait, yeah, no, I was talking about Arc 5. Um, oh yeah, when they show her what happened, and then she actually believes, because the whole time she was doubting that Elsa died, and then when they showed her the actual scene, she like started crying because she knew that was it. Um, I don't want to interrupt it, but at the same time, I want to talk about the Arc 5 moment that I had mentioned way back when we were watching Arc 5. Fuck. Because by now it's obvious. You've already probably guessed who her mother is. Or I guess mother in quotations. I wonder if this is going to go into the extra detail about it. Notice that tinge of fear. Notice that tinge. She's not supposed to have that. That's the point of the whole training. That's the point of being turned into fucking hundreds of frogs. You're not supposed to have that fear. God, I feel so bad. Her face right before this started, right before all this started being said, she looked so full of hope. She wanted to have an act. Uh, it's sad. It's real sad. The tone in his voice, that's really good. The tone in his voice, that's a really good way of doing it. Yeah, now we get to see the thing in its entirety. Again, dude, I've talked about it before. Tepe's mentioned, writing her, and he's like, "Yeah, I felt like I did a really good job." Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did, motherfucker. You did make a really fucking great character. Dude, actually having that animated and everything. I can't wait to show my brother this episode. He's guessed. He is guessed who Meili and Elsa's mother is. And it was spot on. It was absolutely spot on. And now it's gonna start, isn't it? If I remember correctly. I think this is around where it starts. Yep, there it is. There it is. That's what I was waiting for. This is one of the best parts about the whole thing, is now he becomes haunted by this shit and just constantly hears her talking in his ear. And it's like, oh, it's so good. I saw some of the screen caps with her face, like just, shadow in front of it, everything. It's like, oh, ooh, excuse me. Oh, man. Okay, I want to talk about the Arc 5 stuff, but I'm having a great time right now. I'll save it. I'll save it for later. Oh, dude. Just. This might end up being. I mean, it wouldn't be surprising, but this might end up being my favorite episode of the core. Simply because if it wasn't split into two cores, it would probably be some of the later stuff. Oh my god, the face there. But I think it automatically has to go to this episode, or it's either going to be this episode or the next. There it is. That's the one I saw with the shadow and everything. Oh, dude. Oh yeah, and then this is the is this gonna be like hmm. I think okay, this is gonna be the part of the scene I do remember. Yeah, because I kind of want to give it a second just in case it does happen, but I do remember this is another part I really enjoy because of like, showing this proper, essentially like brother sister sort of. Oh, I was going to talk about the brother sister sort of thing between Beatrice and how the novel kind of goes into that with this scene in a sense. Okay, yeah, it does still. Because essentially she's like watching over him the whole time, which feels like a fun contrast to Arc 4, right? Where she was secluded away, that's it. But then Arc 6 kind of has her staying by his side the whole time. Of course, she's his spirit, but still, it's it's a very good narrative sort of difference in there, and I love it a lot. Oh yeah, I forgot she does notice that stuff. Oh God, I forgot that line's in there. That line hurts, dude. Her reaction, both novel wise and there, it hurts. But, dude, the fact that she points it out is like one of the roughest things because it's like, oh, he's done that before. That is always this interesting little point to me because it's like that it is interesting. It kind of delves into that. Yeah, like if you go too far, you go too far. That's it, right? There's no going back. Like that's something a lot of series like to delve into. But I love how this delves into it by literally pointing it out with the quote and everything. But yeah, the scratched up hand thing is like it's always one of the roughest lines to read just because it's like, oh God, it's something he's done before and she hates it. I was like, oh, I wish Beatrice didn't have to endure that as a result. But I mean, it's, how Subaru ended up feeling. I'm gonna double check. Yeah, wow, we're almost done. If they show the ending, then everything else is gonna just get saved for the next episode, which I'm not opposed to entirely. It's just, yeah, but I kind of expect they won't. I think I know what they're gonna cliffhanger with. Oh my God, that's God. Every time they're doing it is so damn good. I'm glad this is how they're doing it. Also, the like lens flare over her eyes in a sense. Oh, oh, they're absolutely just like I figured out the cliffhanger last time. I think I know what this episode's cliffhanger is gonna be. I'm smart enough. I can gauge this stuff. I can gauge this stuff pretty well. I think I know what it's gonna be. I know exactly how they're gonna end this off. Yup. Yep, and then they're going to. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew they were going to cliffhanger with this. Also love that line. It's I was gonna say it's a life form. That means, you know, clairvoyance can be used. Oh, and then focusing on the neck, that's so good. Oh, I'm so happy about this episode. It's exactly how I wanted it to be. Becomes a habit. Oh, and the side by side, and it was I have so much to say about that last sequence in general. The fact that he says the first part, then Meili smugly says the second half of the title being blurry, and then it perfectly transitions music wise into this. That's fucking wild. That's legit so wild. Oh my god, that's so good. Oh man. Yeah, I knew they were gonna cliffhanger with this. I knew we weren't gonna get the entire. I mean, obviously we're not gonna get the entire thing, but I had a feeling this is exactly what's gonna be. I'm 2 for 2 on this. I'm 2 for 2. Okay, so yeah, next week will be the last episode of the core. It will actually finish up the volume this time. I figured they might take an episode, like an extra episode to do so. I brought this up in the past. I figured they might just because the third volume, much like the fifth, is like decently long. So I figured, yeah, okay, they'll do that, and then next core, uh, they'll probably take an extra episode to finish five, and then four will finish pretty quickly, and boom, right? Simple as that. Is there gonna be more? No. Okay, I'm just double checking. Let the book fall. Yeah. Okay, let's stop that timer. Let's just reset it for next time. Yeah, wow. That was good. That was perfect, actually. Not even just good, that was perfect. That is exactly how I wanted that episode to be when I read it. Uh, you know what I'm gonna do for the first time ever? Maybe not first time ever. I'd actually like to skim through this. I'd like to just look through and remind myself. Obviously, as always, voice acting was stellar. I love the detail of the book. I love that it's small. That makes so much sense because it's not a full life. It can't even be argued to be a life that's been lived very long at all, right? So I love that it's a like relatively thin book that doesn't have a lot to it. Uh the entire backstory was exactly I guess how I imagined it in a sense. I will say maybe a critique, I don't know. Melee sounded a little odd with the backstory. I don't think it was inherently bad. I like what they were going for. There's almost like I almost want to say like this Tarzan sort of thing, just like wild beast sounds going on and everything. And I like that. But I think her voice actually sounded deeper than it usually is, right? Like in like current, plot, it sounded deeper. Uh so that felt a little strange because it's like, well, inherently it should actually be higher. It should be a higher pitch in that regard. I know that's kind of a difficult thing to, get where it's like you're both voicing this character and then also you have to make like just sounds with them. I get that, right? I get that would also just kind of be an issue. Um, Obviously, great to see short hair Elsa. I was always, you know, I I've talked about in the past of like, we get to see like characters in the way they're described finally and all this because the light novel really didn't do it too much. Um the prime example I always bring up is Teresia, right? And I brought this up when we got to the episode, her backstory episode with Arc 5, is that when it came to Teresia in the light novel, we never got to see this outfit they implied she had. We saw it in the like essentially concept art, but we saw it nowhere else, and I was kind of disappointed. On top of the fact, the critique that everybody's made, Teresia looks identical to her younger self in the actual colored illustration in Arc 5. I guess because out of like reference, it's just easy to use what's, there. But she didn't look like an adult. As a reminder, she's around like a teenager or something when the whole Arc Free stuff goes down. So it's weird that for the whole Arc 5 scene with, Pandora and the whale and all that, they kind of just like showed her again in that state in the light novel, but I was glad that the anime had actually essentially aged her up, had made her look like a full-grown adult, right? Somebody who is at this point relatively retired, but not fully, right? So I liked that a lot, and as a result, I was very glad to have seen, and this makes sense because this was in a colored illustration, but I was glad to have seen Elsa, their short hair and everything, and it's like, you know what, that's cool. I'm glad we actually got that. I'm glad we got to see her younger look to her. Uh, that entire sequence was like perfect. Again, that's exactly how I imagined that whole thing. Um, just in particular showing this nature about Elsa and like getting Melee used to some things, and at the same time, Melee's, hasn't fully warmed up to her, right? Given the circumstance and all that. But Elsa's cool with it. And then you have the comparison of let's just be blunt about it, right? You've already realized, you saw the design, you heard the voice. If you're an anime only, you've already figured it out, probably. So I'm just gonna be blunt about it and say it. In comparison to Capella, uh, you know, being Melee's mother and this whole torture, because for those who don't know, I'm gonna let you in on a little I guess light novel, web novel sort of secret here. Not really secret, but just detail they bring up. Uh the whole reason Melee gets transformed there. It might seem odd that out of nowhere she gets distorted and transformed into like, the bug, and then turned into hundreds of frogs, like I was saying, and this and that and everything, right? You might be wondering about that. Uh it is this is one of the reasons I genuinely love Capella as a villain, because again, she is that fucked up that it's just like, ooh, it, it, she is despicable and you hate this villain like with all of your heart, but because of how they're written, you can't deny, yeah, that's like probably the best in the series, right? But going into the detail I'm trying to talk about, essentially Capella kind of tries to instill in her children, right? Children in quotations, but that's what they are. Uh, she tries to instill into them that there are worse fates than death. Like that is literally outright how it's worded, is that there are worse fates than death. So it's like, it's two things. It's one, it's removing your fear of death because of that, right? It's like, look, now you're hundreds of frogs, right? Your conscience is literally split between hundreds of frogs, right? And then on top of that, it's showing, yeah, if you disobey me, this isn't a matter of, right, like just that's it, you're done after that. No, this is a matter of, oh, you won't die. You'll receive something 1,000 times worse, right? And just anything you saw Capella do in Arc 5, that just gives you a good example of what she'll do, right? And it's like you will be stuck like that for eternity. The biggest thing they point out, I actually don't fully. Did they? I think they showed off the slab of meat stuff in Arc 5, but I don't fully remember. Maybe they didn't. I guess because I don't remember her actually doing that to someone, but she might have, and I just forgot. She might have. The biggest thing she points out with that is just outright turning you into a like essentially a slab of meat. Like you are nothing. It is hard to consider that flesh or bone or muscle or whatever it may be. You're just a pile of like exactly how she worded it, like meat essentially. You don't perform any function. You don't do anything, but you exist. You know what's going on around you. Everything is clear, but you can't do a thing. And she kind of establishes that as this is like the ultimate punishment. You are going to be stuck like that for eternity, and that's it. And you just have to accept that. Um, so that whole thing is such an interesting aspect of her character. And it really makes you hate her. And again, it leads into a whole lot with Melee. Before I get into some of that, I do want to mention the Arc 5 stuff I was going to talk about, because I might as well mention it here while I'm talking on Capella, right? While we're on the topic. So the scene that I found out was web novel only, and I was so sad that it was web novel only, uh, is the fact that during the Al fight, one of the things Capella actually does in the web novel is she transforms into Elsa. Like she gets the whole feather, like, cloak, right? Like the whole, I don't want to call it the revive sort of cloak, but you know what I mean, the I'm not gonna die just yet cloak. uh Same hair, all this braided, everything, like it literally, like flower in the hair. It's like she nails that look down to a T. And it's the most obvious sign of, okay, so she's familiar with Elsa, right? You realize in that moment she knows who Elsa is. And therefore that implies a lot, because also if you've read, web novel, light novel, whatever it may be, you know that Melee has brought up, her mama in the previous arc, right? And she talks about all this stuff in regards to her. So it leads into that. Funny enough, the web novel of Arc 4, this was obviously retconned because, I guess Tappei realized it couldn't be done. Like, it physically couldn't be done because there would be way too many problems, plot-wise. This isn't really a spoiler to say because, again, it was outright retconned. Because, as many people note, the web novel is more so a rough draft. But Arc 4 actually also almost had a Capella appearance, or at least implied one, when Subaru has that whole, like, I guess, like, second death, not really second death from Elsa. It's just the second encounter leading to him, losing his eye, and then there's the whole thing with the rabbits. Um, the interesting thing about it is that in the web novel, Elsa lets him go. She kills who she needs to, and then she looks at him, and he asks to be spared, and she's like, "Well, you're not part of my list, so I mean, like, yeah, I took your eye, but yeah, sure, right?" She's just like, "Yeah, no, go ahead. I mean, shit, right? Like, again, you're not part of the list. You can go on. Right? It's whatever." So she leaves, Melee leaves, and then Subaru goes into the village where everybody's at, right? And the implication it was that, oh, Melee had killed everybody, but then he goes into the village, and all that remains is just multiple, like, slabs of meat everywhere, implying that, oh, she also came here. But again, that makes, like, no sense from, I guess, like, the point of the, like, narrative, because both that can't physically happen for all the events that go down later, and then also it can't happen in that regard because it just wouldn't make sense to put her there. What is the how do you counteract that, right? So like that was like a whole, can of worms he had opened up, and it was just like, okay, you know what? No, hold on, let's change that. Let's rework that into something different. And you know what? I'm glad he did. I'm very glad he did, because again, that could have been a problem. Could have been interesting to see where it went a little bit, but I think it was way better to rework that. Regardless, I'm talking a little too much about that. Let's talk a little bit more about the episode. Uh, I do love how they show that further, like, growth between Melee and Elsa. Like, her fixing Elsa's hair, all that. And then also that look she gives Elsa when they're in, essentially, just walking down through the, like, markets and everything. That stare she gives her when Elsa tells her to not be like Capella, right? Which is, again, is such an important detail, because Elsa is a psychopath, right? We know that, right? We've known that this whole time. But it shows that I almost want to be like, the professionals have standards. But in a sense, that is what it is, right? In a sense, the whole thing with it is like, it shows that despite Elsa's scenario, despite the fact that she is this crazed lunatic that loves cutting out people's intestines and then comparing them and looking at the color of them and whatever it may be, right? Despite showing all that, she's actually pretty, aware of when people go a little bit too far. Which makes sense. I mean, we know her backstory, right? But she's aware of that sort of thing, and so she sees Capella, and she's like, "Hey," right? She has to preface to Melee. She's like, "Hey, listen, you're a kid, so I'm gonna say this very nicely to you. That person is insane, and you should not be like her. You should not follow in her footsteps even remotely. If she has orders and we have like a hit or whatever it may be, we can do that. That's fine. But listen, you do not go further than that, okay? We do not go further, right? The idea of even a character like this has to preface that to Melee to just be like, that's way too out of bounds, right? We can't. We can't be like that because that's deranged. It's so good. Genuinely, that's one of my favorite moments. I I remember when I read this stuff, I had like it might not even fully been this because I knew some of these details ahead of time. No, I think it was this. It was outright when I got here because I knew some Arc 6 details ahead of time, but no, I believe it was when I read this. I had like stayed up decently late to talk to a friend about it, and I was just like, dude, and the whole thing here, like I spent so much time just talking about, and like even he agreed. It's like, yeah, no, it's despite Elsa being off, she knows when somebody's a little too far. That detail I love so much. It's so good. But actually seeing that like scowl on Melee's face, right? And this unknown, this uncertainty on whether or not, like, does she hate Elsa? Does she care about Elsa? She doesn't fully know, right? And for the longest time, she doesn't know, especially because this, love that Capella has conditioned her to. And then we get to that Arc 4 scene, and they did like skim over it pretty quickly, and that's fine, right? But we get to that Arc 4 scene, or like that extra scene to Arc 4, and how they go over, Melee. Because essentially in the novel, they talk about Melee being like, oh yeah, there's no way Elsa's dead. She always comes back. She has a cloak and everything. Like, she'll come back from this. It's fine. And then Garfield has to literally preface to her, hey, no, she's dead. Like, we confirmed it ourselves. She's dead. And she's like, no, that can't have happened. It's Elsa. And Garfield goes, okay, I don't want to do this because you're a kid, but we can go look. The ruins of the mansion are still up. We can go look right now. And then they go. Him, Frederica, all that, like they like it's actually why I'm surprised they showed it as like Frederica, because I'm pretty sure it happens a little bit after. And that scene kind of implies that it was like immediate, right? Unless they're showing a different variant of it, like prior to that. But Garfield brings her over there, and it's this realization for her of Elsa's really gone, and it does cause her to break down. She starts crying and everything. And one of the biggest aspects of, uh, I guess her involvement with Arc 6 that I do wish they went into a little bit, uh, is that now that she's here, there are multiple things. One, she's failed her mission. That's the obvious thing. She was hired. She failed. Elsa's dead also on top of that. That's not really great for her. And then two, she's in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, right? There is, she has control over mob beasts, but that's her only means of getting out, right? And even then, it still might not be perfect, right? So she's in the middle of nowhere with people that are mostly suspicious of her, right? And again, she failed her mission. And the immediate realization she has in the novel is, oh God, I'm gonna die. Right? It's that realization. And that like keeps repeating through her head to the point that ironically it undoes everything that Capella has ever told her. Right? It is this whole thing of like she's so worried about what will happen if Capella sees her again that she actually starts worrying about death again, and she doesn't want to die, and she doesn't want to die, and she's like, repeating that in her head, and she's like running around trying to figure shit out, right? Like they were bringing up like what she desires, all this and everything. It's so good. It's so good. And that just talking about that portion of it. Oh, it cut out of the. I didn't realize it removed me from the episode. Damn it. Um, I mean, I guess that's overall the stuff I kind of wanted to speak on in regards to this whole episode. But it's like I love those bits, and then of course after like having read the book, having that moment with Subaru, where you know this voice of Melee is just chipping away at him, and again the scene with Beatrice and the hand and everything, and revealing that this is just a common trait. This is something that he's done before, so it doesn't seem suspicious because yeah, he scratched at his hand before. And it's like, oh man, ah, there's so much to this part of the volume that I love. And obviously, the next episode as well is going to cover the rest of that, right? The next episode is going to cover the entirety of what's left for like this portion of the volume that I absolutely love with all my heart, and why it's like probably my second favorite volume in the whole thing because there's so much crazy shit that happens here. But man, oh, it's so good. I love this arc. Genuinely, I love this arc. I can't wait till we get to the what is essentially the later volumes of it. It's gonna be so damn nice. It's gonna be so damn nice. This is so good. They adapted this set of chapters so well. It's exactly how I wanted it to be. It is exactly how I wanted it to be when I read it. I'm sure if I went back and watched my review, uh, as early as it is, and like I guess rough to a certain degree in quality, uh, I'm sure I could get that general impression still that this is exactly how I wanted it to be. It's just, oh, oh, it's good. It's good. I'm very happy. I've been very satisfied this whole time. This has just made me very happy. I'm glad I was here. I kind of wish I was here on the dot. I kind of wish I was here on the dot, but I'll deal with that. I will deal with that. With that said, we're gonna end off. There's not much else to say. Oh man, thinking about this and just every, I guess, game show sort of event that happened this past week that has gotten me excited for one thing or another, and it's just like, man, I feel happy. I know it's very minuscule sort of stuff, and that's not what life's all about by all means, but I'm happy. And I've even been uploading ADT chapters finally. I finally got to do that, so I was real happy about that. In case you're curious, you can now read new ones as well, right? Um, but yeah, this was good. This was very good. I'm very happy. But we're gonna end off. So take care. Have yourselves a great day, great night, whatever it may be. We will do more Arc 9 soon. I have to. I I I know it's probably only going to be handled in one day in one stream, but I do not want Chapter 5 to interrupt my Arc 9 stuff entirely, right? To just out of nowhere create this lapse, especially because I'm probably going to be watching friends play that. I'm probably going to be there for one of my friends playing it just outright the whole time, so that'll be quite a few days of that. So, for the sake of that, I'd like to probably finish Arc 9 soon. So I am probably going to try and speedrun that a little bit whenever I get the chance. That'll be okay, right? But yeah, there'll be more Arc 9 reading sessions soon. I meant to do one last week. We didn't, but that's okay. Still. I'm trying to think of just everything I've said so far in terms of like, take care, have yourselves a great day, whatever it might be. I guess I could just repeat it, but take care. Have yourselves a great day, great night, whatever it may be. Stay safe, and I will see you all with, I guess, the last episode of the core. So we'll be on that soon, or Arc 9, or ADT, or I don't know what else. I don't think this Xenoverse video is gonna come out just yet. So I mean, apologies on that ahead of time, but I don't think that's fully coming out just yet. So can't really say that one. But one of the other options. Regardless, farewell, peeps.